time, with Goguenard just the first, with Tremolta showing speed now, and Eau de Cologne and Lord of the River on the outside, and wider out Luz Gadu as they took the first fence, at which Cadu Gold was just the back marker and wasn't too quick over it. It's Tremolta on the inside of Lord of the River as they take the open ditch, the second, and all safely over. Ockold made a mistake at the rear. Tremolta, Lord of the River, Gunther Mcbride now into third in the white sleeve jacket, then Eau de Cologne and Luz Gadu, followed by Dark Stranger and Goguenard taken back into about 7th place. Red Striker in the midfield, followed by Mr. Baxter Basics, and then Cadu Gold as they turn right-handed towards the back straight. Amongst the back numbers in these very early stages, trouble ahead with also Paper Rising, Julius Bay and Ockold is the back marker. They're quite well strung out. There'll be 25 lengths between first and last already as Tremolta leads them over the third. From Lord of the River in second place, there's very heavily back favourite. In third, Gunther Mcbride, and then Eau de Cologne and Luz Gadu in the very bright orange jacket as they clear another open. Luz Gadu has blundered the rider away there. Luz Gadu is out of the race. JP McNamara on the deck as Tremolta leads them towards the next from Gunther Mcbride. And then Lord of the River, Eau de Cologne left fourth, and then Goguenard and Dark Stranger, Mr. Baxter Basics, and then Red Striker. Behind Red Striker, then trouble ahead from Paper Rising and Cadu Gold as they took the last in the back straight. And after Cadu Gold, Julius Bay and Ockold is right out of it at the moment as they run right-handed now towards the straight. Lord of the River having gone off the 7-2 favourite, currently lying third on the outside. JP McNamara sitting up after that tumble from Luz Gadu. Towards the next line of 3 fences, and it's Tremolta, who had every chance when falling at the last year. He leads the way, visor for the first time from Gunther Mcbride and then Lord of the River. And these are followed by Eau de Cologne in 4th place and Goguenard in 5. Mr. Baxter Basics is next on the inside. Pulling up is Red Striker, pulled out by Richard Guest. Red Striker pulled up before that next plain fence. Maybe something amiss, and Ockold has also been pulled up. He was never going at all. Ockold, Richard Guest very quick to get off Red Striker. They meanwhile head towards what will be the last next time. Tremolta from Lord of the River and Gunther Mcbride. 6 lengths then to Eau de Cologne. Goguenard a slap down the neck from Mr. Baxter Basics on the inside. Then trouble ahead. Dark Stranger's never been on the bridle. He's not travelling. Cadu Gold and then Paper Rising held up and Julius Bay in the rear. Ockold is being led back. Red Striker is being held. Meanwhile, they head towards the water jump. Tremolta continues to make the running under Jason Maguire, with Lord of the River and Gunther Mcbride closer. Gunther Mcbride landed second from Lord of the River. Then Eau de Cologne, 4 faults at the water for trouble ahead. On to next plain fence, number 11. And there's still one well strung out. It's been a strong gallop all the way. Tremolta, who's jumping, has been good so far today. Gunther Mcbride and Lord of the River, second and third. And then Eau de Cologne in 4th as they take this next open ditch. Behind Eau de Cologne then Mr. Baxter Basics, who's been travelling quite nicely under Norman Williamson as they run towards another right-hand turn. And then after Mr. Baxter Basics, trouble ahead. Paper Rising is making some headway now. Goes into about 6th place, having been quietly ridden for the first circuit. And then some way behind the leading 6 or 7, Goguenard, Julius Bay, Cadu Gold and Dark Stranger, who's not doing a tap. He's absolutely last now. Down the back straight, they've got 4 down the back to take, and it's Tremolta from Gunther Mcbride with Lord of the River in the blue jacket on the outside, right there with every chance under Mick Fitzgerald. They're followed by Mr. Baxter Basics, quietly on the inside, stealthily. Then Eau de Cologne in the noseband, Paper Rising in the blue and red jacket, just coming into shot now. Another open ditch at which Gunther Mcbride took the lead off Tremolta. And Gunther Mcbride under Richard Johnson gallops on now from Tremolta and Lord of the River. Then Mr. Baxter Basics as they run towards the last 2 plain fences in the back straight. Gunther Mcbride, who's got a lightweight here, he lands ahead. Lord of the River on the outside. Mr. Baxter Basics over on the inside. Then Eau de Cologne out wide at the last in the back straight, and it's Gunther Mcbride who's galloping on powerfully at the moment and seems to have quite a few of them in trouble here. Lord of the River is now 5 or 6 lengths down in second place. Then Mr. Baxter Basics from Eau de Cologne. Paper Rising trying to make some ground now, and then Tremont and Julius Bay, and the others are well beaten off. They run round the final turn, and it's Gunther Mcbride in command from Lord of the River. Mr. Baxter Basics on the inside, a couple of cracks with the left hand for the leader, Gunther Mcbride, running down towards 3 out. It's Gunther Mcbride with a loose horse chasing him in second place. Then Mr. Baxter Basics over on the far side. Eau de Cologne is back in third place. 2 fences left to jump then for Gunther Mcbride as he draws towards 2 out. A fast jump there, he's got it, one surely. Mr. Baxter Basics second, then Eau de Cologne, Julius Bay, Lord of the River getting very tired, then Tremont. 1 fence left to go jump, and Richard Johnson, who's won this race for the last 2 years, comes to the last with the race in his pocket again, and it's Gunther Mcbride and Richard Johnson who won on Gloria Victis and on Young Spartacus, and Gunther Mcbride, a progressive horse, is going to stroll home in the racing post chase. Clear of Mr. Baxter Basics and Eau de Cologne fighting for second. Eau de Cologne may just have got second from Mr. Baxter Basics, then Julius Bay. Lord of the River ran as though he needed the run, then Tremont, who faded. Dark Stranger may have completed, Goguenard didn't, that was pulled up. Paper Rising pulled up, and Cadu Gold was also pulled up as well. 5 to 1, Gunther Mcbride in the colours Mr. MJ Tuckey, trained by Philip Hobbs and ridden by Richard Johnson, who's farming this race. Had a featherweight, 10 stone 3, Gunther Mcbride, already a course and distance winner. Oh, it all looks easy now, doesn't it? And he had the race in safekeeping from a long way out. This was the second last. He'd been set alight by Richard Johnson early in the straight. Great jump over that by Gunther Mcbride, who's been a thoroughly consistent performer this season. Hasn't been out of the first 2 now in 6 outings this term. A former Hunter Chase winner in Ireland. One thing he does is jump well, and he stays well as well. And off a lightweight, he was always going to take some pegging back once they turn for home here. Going to the final fence, the race well won. He's just got to get over the last obstacle. That's all that stood between him and victory. And it was all very easy for this 7-year-old at the last. And met it just about spot on. Gunther Mcbride wins the racing post chase.
And Gunther Mcbride has landed a quite enormous gamble. It was a 16 to 1 chance when betting opened on Tuesday. This morning, Victor Chandler were 8 to 1. It was generally 7 and 13 to 2. The Tote knew they only went 6